Hello and welcome to part 6 of my Dragon Wars video walkthrough for the Apple II here on YouTube. In this video, I will explore Phoebus and the dungeon beneath it. We'll be introduced to Namtar's army and police force and a recurring minor antagonist, but there will also be good treasure. A link to the map and the guide I'm following should be below. So, first, we walk over to Phoebus, where we've been before to recruit Valar, who is now Fraser. We'll have to fight the goblins again, if you remember, but they'll be a lot easier this time since we can just cast Fire Blast. Also, some of the Phoebus treasure is a bunch of dragon stones, so we can afford to sling spells here. Okay, paragraph 26 says, Phoebus is almost too clean, 2 men in black watch you, and paragraph 25 describes that machine with the handshakes that kind of fizzes out amusingly, so it's worth reading if you didn't. And here is Namtar's enforcement, and we can Google Stosstrupen to see what that means, to remember that even though Namtar will be cracking a few jokes, yeah, he's the bad guy here. So right now, I am looking to map out the east and northeast. The military parade grounds suggest that there may be a draft, especially since the city is losing the war, according to the paragraphs. So they're just going to take anybody they can get. And we're being a bit foolish hanging around here, but that's just to show you all the squares. So that square that's open, there'll be dialogue. Paragraph 28 says, fight for King Drake and Namtar, and I say no here, that costs me 350. If I go right back, I need to pay 350 again, or go to the front. So this time I go to the front. Paragraph 86 says, no way back apparently. So we are going to attack the siege camp later, but we're not powerful enough right now to make it easy. While it's probably more in the middle of the game in a natural progression, the way I align the videos, it's going to be one of the last ones where we just sweep through. So yeah, I'm trying the different options. What if you say yes right away? It's the same as if you say no and yes. And if you don't have the money, then you are automatically sent to the front. Okay, here is a fight with Stosstrupen. They will appear in other places on the map. They do a lot of stun damage, so armor isn't really going to be effective in lowering the damage they do, unless you have a lot of HP. And here you can see I lost without using spells. As I mentioned before, I have a lot of dragon stones, and I will find more, so it should be pretty easy. Also, the random fights usually have 1 or 2 Stosstrupen, so you can keep re-rolling until you get 1 without any risk, since they don't damage hit points. And there's a reward for getting by. We have a chest full of spells. Poog's Vortex is the one that's particularly good. Create Wall saves a bit of gold for later. We could have bought it. Actually, that will be in part 7. We will not need to buy it in Lansk. And Mithra's Bless is a nice spell. So, again, we can see there's a lot of stuff we picked up that seemed really nice and valuable at the time, but it's not now. So I spent a little more time than I needed to decide what to throw away. And here I might as well use the dragon stones, because the next chest will have some really good stuff in it. Yeah, we can just run away. And here, a guy talks about Mystalvision. We will see Mystalvision in a bit. This is a causality bug because I think they assumed people would just go all the way north first and then fight Mystalvision. And then if they escape the dungeon, they wind up around here and then they see the ominous fellow. But, you know, we'd rather have it there twice by mistake than not at all. So here's another locked chest. You can see that fight. I came with all the heat because I knew there was something behind, and also there were 10 Stosstrupen and 1 guard, so yeah, we better bring everything we have. It's also one of those things where, okay, if they're all there, they really must be guarding something. And this turns out to be correct. Again, I got sloppy with spells. I should have used the Poog's Vortex right away. And Sunstroke isn't really useful because Frazier has it to start, and I'm not going to give anyone Sunstroke. The plate mail is good armor, and it will allow us to drop cheaper armor. It does reduce your attack, but I'm going big on defense since everybody has spells, so I just need not to get hit. Let's take care of these soldiers now. Again, a couple fire blasts. We have the spare dragon stones, and so we are going to use them on Stosstrupen when we find them to map stuff out. Phoebus is pretty well organized as a city. You notice there are the 2x2 or 2x3 buildings. And that makes the passages less mazy. So we don't have to backtrack and lose track of the map in our head. Now, here in the northeast, we've been to the tavern, which is way in the northeast, but to the west, there's some pretty cool treasure. Again, with the fire blast, it's very nice to be able to keep the time down here. I'm going to wind up wandering a bit in the Phoebus dungeon. And I do want to keep these under 30 minutes. So I think Cliff needs extra lockpick to open this, but I think in general it's worth it to get Cliff's lockpick to 3 quickly so that you just don't have to worry anymore. 3 will open up everything you need. And now I discard the battle axes I was kind of happy to get for free back at the arena that I should have sold immediately. Diane also has some sun magic spells that Frazier doesn't know yet, and I should have traded them over earlier. The magic plate is very good. The mage cloth is very nice for mages. Although chain armor is still pretty good, it does more for your defense. So it's tough to know what precisely is better. I'm not sure if the mage cloth improves spell casting or whatever. But it lets your mages attack a bit better, and that's nice. I am also giving all the really good stuff to Sam. This is going to pay off later when I need to win a fight, because he will be almost invincible, and I won't care that everybody else goes down. Of course, this is only true for melee. If enemies breathe, then we need to use Cure All spells and so forth. But Sam will still be pretty strong. There's going to be a bit of awkward silence here, hopefully not too awkward as I just map everything out. We're quite close now. There is one fight that I'd like to explore. We have the spell points for it. Now up north is the big fight that will lead to the dungeon. But until then, we can find something that, well, we'll get to show how strong our party can be. Citizens avoid walking on this side of the street, and having them 30 feet away is really helpful because we can hit them with spells before they get close, and in fact we should, and we did, and having two of them is much easier to handle, especially if they've already been damaged by spells. And we might as well use dragon stones since we will open up more of them, and if we have to leave a few behind in the next chest, it's not a big deal. So now we're working our way north. There are going to be some more guards before we fight Mystalvision. We've pretty much mapped all of Phoebus out now. I may have missed the tavern in the northeast, but that's not huge. We already know what's there. There's nobody to join up, and we have read all the advice. So here the soldiers are guarding the temple. We throw everything we have at them. And Mystalvision casts Inferno, which is a spell Frazier does not have yet. That's going to be upcoming in a couple videos. And until then, we can kill the Stosstrupen. And it's possible we can win the fight with Mystalvision, but he kind of punks us anyway. It's a bit of sleight of hand so that we are sent down to the dungeon, even if we win, because that's a kind of cool next part of the adventure, and it opens up something that I forget to look at. So yeah, 5 damage each is pretty tough. You wind up in jail a lot in this game too, which is kind of cool. You don't really have to do much to get out. And first I'll just bandage everybody. Incidentally, paragraph 66 from Mystalvision was just basic talking villain stuff, so it wasn't really specific to the plot. But seeing him makes more sense of the ominous fellow we saw about around 5:15. So that kind of puts something in place. Paragraph 101 is one I should have read better. There's someone named Berengaria who tells us to meet up at the tavern afterwards and sends us to the city of the Mud Toad. Then gives us 2 really good spells, Summon Salamander and Rage of Mithras. And paragraph 102 is basically there's a sleepy old jailer, and if you use the right skills, you can sneak past. I forget what those skills are. I just went in for the fight. Again, just torched him with spells. And here we have a choice. It's a rather big one. There's a dragon in the pit, and someone is trying to feed them. If we get in the way of that, with paragraph 89, the dragon gets mad and burns Phoebus to the ground, and it's just not there anymore. And this is how I played the first time around. So I probably saw the paragraph with Berengaria, and then I forgot about it. I couldn't find a way out of Phoebus without destroying it. So I left it there, and then going through on the video now and actually putting the audio in, I see, oh, wait, yeah, Berengaria. I think the first time I played this on the emulator, I saw and realized that too, and it was kind of neat to put things together. Anyway, Mystalvision round 2 is ahead. And one thing about Berengaria is Berengaria will be at the tavern in the northeast. You might need to explore all 4 squares. And then in the city of the Mud Toad, again, the tavern's in the northeast, but Berengaria is not at the bar. You have to go to one of the other squares. So, 4 old jailers and 1 Mystalvision. Mystalvision is a lot less tough here. And defeating Mystalvision will give some nice scrolls. So we'd like to kind of trounce him. And Elvar's fire is nasty, but not as bad as Inferno. And I think Mystalvision just ran out of spell points there. I think the game does track these in combat. And Disarm Trap is important. Not for a game critical quest, but for an interesting side storyline that's down the road. The other spells are pretty nice. I should have just discarded the Sunstroke. Yeah, if there's one thing that kind of bugs me about the game is you don't have a good track of what spells you've cast. And if you use a scroll for a spell you already have, the scroll just vanishes. And it doesn't even say, whoops, you already knew that spell. So there are more dungeon patrollers, and paragraph 106 is a druid being tortured. They are near death. I should have looked at the paragraph book right away when playing, but instead I kind of ran around a bit. I needed to map things out anyway, I guess, so it's not too bad. There's still more loot in this dungeon that we'd like to take while we explore. It's nothing terribly profound, but we don't want to miss it since I want this walkthrough to cover as many squares as possible. Also, the Phoeban Dungeon is not huge. It's the same size as Phoebus, but there are a lot more spaces inside the walls that we can't get to by walking. the passage is blocked by a cave-in. Now, there are two ways to get around that. One is with an item, and one is with the climb skill. And that's an actual dead end. Or wait, it's a secret door. Anyway, in the Phoeban Dungeon, it's always worth trying to climb when at a dead end or running into the wall. And also, you'll notice those empty doors to the right. Those were the original jail. I decided not to try to unlock them and enter them because nothing really is in there, and that would just take that much more time. Now, I remembered what to do here. We cast a heal spell for the poor druid. It's a lot like the location in the slave camp where we make their final moments easier, or in the mines. And we'll see where we can use that password. Incidentally, Halifax is the name of an NPC that could join our party later, but our party is full, so that doesn't work. They're a pretty good one, but the problem is that we get them so late that the other NPCs that we have already kind of improved and kind of surpassed Halifax. You may notice the dungeon guards are blocking. This can be very irritating, especially in combination with enemies who cast spells. Some of those enemies cause us to miss attacks, and so we can have a stalemate there, or even if one enemy attacks, we're a bit helpless unless we have high dexterity. Basic armor and stuff is here. The shovel will help you dig your way out if you don't have climb skill, but you probably should if you've gotten this far, and we can assume gotten to the underworld. Whoops. Didn't type the X. The magic ring is good since it's an item that just gives armor class. The dragon stone is a good recharge, or the stones are. For the spells we needed to burn to get through safely, and we have to say the password on the way out, but, well, it's a small nuisance for having gotten a bit more treasure. Now, we use the shovel. And we climb over the rubble. And that is all for the dungeon. There is no way back. And you get disguises, and you may have noticed that that square we were on was dark. And oh, there's the ominous fellow again. And we were inside a square we couldn't reach, but now we found out what it's for. So that is Phoebus, and that is all there is to this video. So thanks for watching through, and if you've enjoyed this enough, giving a like or subscribing if you haven't already goes a long way in encouraging me to share more videos of fun games you may wish to revisit or didn't realize you missed. See you next video.